A few years ago, my dark chocolate habit had gotten a little out of hand. I was eating more dark chocolate than I cared to admit to anyone, even my husband. And I kept telling myself, okay, tomorrow's the day I'm going to quit eating chocolate. But the next day would come and inevitably I would find myself back in the kitchen, rummaging through the cupboards, looking for a little bit of chocolate. And it was so frustrating that I didn't have enough willpower to break this habit. So if you've ever felt like your craving for sweets is a little out of control and you just don't have the willpower to stay away from them, you are definitely not alone. And in this video today, I want to walk you through the 4-step process that I've used to help me keep my sweet tooth under control, but also I use it to help the hundreds of women that I work with in my coaching practice as well. And then at the end of the video, I also have a free bonus training that I'll give you access to. It's called the Willpower Equation, and it gives you 7 proven strategies to boost your willpower so that it's easier to stay away from the sweets. Before we dive into the 4-step process, I want to clear up something first. And that is the reason why it doesn't work to just rely on your willpower. So often we think that if I just had a little bit more willpower, then it would be easier to stay away from the sweets. And so you wake up in the morning and you have the best intentions to eat healthy that day. Maybe you have a healthy breakfast or you skip breakfast so that you can save the calories. And then you have just a salad for lunch, a nice light lunch. But then somewhere later in the day, maybe in the afternoon, maybe when you get in the door from after work or maybe at night, it feels like your willpower is running on fumes. And so that can look like the middle of the afternoon, just feeling tired and going to the vending machine for a little afternoon pick-me-up. Or maybe it is the minute you walk in the door from work, you head straight to the kitchen to find something to snack on. Or for you, maybe it's at night after dinner and you just want to unwind with some ice cream or some chips or some cookies. So let me know if you can relate to that. Can you relate to that feeling of just not having enough willpower left at the end of the day to follow through on the good intentions that you set? Because here's what most people don't realize. Researchers have actually extensively studied this topic of willpower, and they found that your willpower is kind of like a battery. So imagine your phone, for example. Let's say you plug in your phone overnight, you wake up in the morning, and that battery has a full charge. But then throughout the day, you start using the phone. Maybe you send some texts, you check some emails, you're scrolling on social media, you watch a video. And as you go throughout the day, all those different things you use your phone for start to drain the battery so that by the end of the day, it needs to be charged again. Well, your willpower operates in a very similar manner. So you wake up in the morning with this full charge of willpower. It's like you have a full tank. But all these different things you do throughout the day can drain that willpower battery. So for example, every decision you make drains the willpower, whether that's the decision of what you're going to eat for breakfast or what you're going to wear, or whether or not you're going to stop for coffee on your way to work. Every decision starts to chip away at the willpower a little bit. Not only that, but stress can deplete your willpower. When you are trying to restrain your emotions in any way, that chips away at your willpower. So if somebody irritates you at work and you're trying not to blow up at them or not to say what you're really thinking, that is taking emotional restraint, which depletes your willpower. So there's all these things that happen throughout the day that chip away at your willpower so that by the end of the day, you are running on fumes. That battery is not at full charge. So it makes sense then that at night when you're just wanting that bowl of ice cream, your brain says, just go ahead and eat it. It doesn't matter, because you don't have the mental capacity left at the end of the day to feel motivated to restrain yourself. And so if you struggle staying away from sweets because you feel like your willpower just isn't enough, it makes sense that it's been a struggle, and it doesn't have to be that way. And this is why telling yourself to just be good or to try harder to stay away from the sweets doesn't really work. And women who successfully stay away from it tend to find a different strategy that includes a few key missing pieces. And that's what I want to talk to you about in this 4-step process that I've developed that will help you get off the sweets. So step number 1 is all about creating a plan to stay away from the sweets. Think about it. How many times have you had that thought, oh, I should stop eating sugar. Oh, I need to stay away from the chocolate. I need to be better about what I'm eating. We can have that thought so many times, but until we create a concrete plan, it's unlikely to happen. You know, it made me think about recently, I like to go to the gym to lift weights. I'd been in a really good routine with that last fall, and then over the holidays, I got out of the habit. And it was probably February, and I was still not going back to the gym. And I kept thinking every Sunday, okay, this week, I need to get back to the gym. And so I remember there was one week in particular, it was Sunday night, and I decided Monday, I'm gonna go to the gym. But Monday came, and all day I kept having that thought, okay, I need to go to the gym. Should I go now? I was like, nah, maybe I'll wait until after lunch. I can kind of do it as a lunch break. And then now that didn't happen, like, okay, when I'm done working, then I'll go. And I never made it to the gym. And so what I finally realized is that I wasn't getting back to the gym because I didn't have a clear plan. I didn't know exactly when I was gonna go or anything like that. So the next Sunday night, what I did was I sat down and I made a plan. I looked at my calendar and I decided exactly which days and what time I was going to the gym. And not only that, I was going in the morning, so I mapped out what my morning routine would be. I was going to get up out of bed, I was going to immediately put on my clothes, have a glass of water, read my Bible, and then I would make it to the gym. And so I was very clear about how my morning would look and at what point I would get to the gym. I also decided what I was going to do when I was at the gym. So I was planning everything out so that I wouldn't have to make so many decisions in the moment. Because when we make decisions in the moment, it's not always the best. And so when you're trying to get off sweets, creating a concrete plan is essential. And so here's what I recommend. First, you want to think through, what does it mean to get off sweets? Does that mean you're not eating any sugar at all? Or does it mean you'll allow yourself to have 2 treats throughout the week? There's no right or wrong, but just decide, what does that look like for you? Then also think through, how long are you going to do this for? Are you giving up sweets for 7 days, for a month? Again, no right or wrong, but commit in advance. Decide exactly what it looks like and for how long you will do this. The other part of planning is to look at your kitchen. Go through the cupboards, find anything made of sugar, all the sweets that you might be tempted by, and either donate them, get rid of them, throw them away, bring them to work. Just do something so that they're not going to be that constant source of temptation. There's no need to make it harder for ourselves, right? The other thing I would suggest is, if your family is still going to be eating those treats, then take them all up, put them in one cupboard, one shelf that you are just going to stay away from, so that they're out of sight, out of mind. And then the last part of planning that I highly encourage you to do is to think about why this is important to you to stay away from sugar. Again, there's no right or wrong reason, but you need to know, why are you doing this? Because your reason for doing this has to be so powerful that when you're in the moment staring at that candy bar, you're gonna be like, no, like I wanna fit into my clothes more than I want this candy bar. So think about, why is it really important to you to get rid of the sugar? Maybe it is to fit comfortably into your clothes. Maybe it's for health reasons. I have several women I work with who know that if they eat sugar, it flares up their chronic conditions like MS in a pretty significant way. Other women want to stay away from it because it affects their sleep, their energy, their joint pain. So whatever it is for you is okay, but just be honest with yourself about why you want to stay away from the sugar. So that is the first step of the process of giving up sweets, is to plan. Figure out what it means, when you're going to start, how long you're going to do this for, clean up the kitchen from temptation, and know why you are doing this. So once you're properly prepared, then we need to focus on, what are we going to be eating? Because it's not just about not eating sweets. By the way, if you are new here, I'm Christina Johnson. I'm a transformational nutrition coach, and I help women quit dieting and create a healthy, sustainable lifestyle they can stick with, so they lose weight for good, have a healthy relationship with food, and improve their overall health. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Let's move on to step 2, which is where we want to decrease our cravings so that it's easier to stay off sweets by adding in nutrient-dense foods. What I've seen happen is that a lot of women think, okay, I'm just gonna give up sweets, But while they're giving up sweets, they're also under eating. They're restricting their calories pretty significantly. They're skipping meals. They're eating a lot of processed foods. And all of those things are a recipe for disaster because it will decrease your willpower and it will cause you to have more cravings. So instead, what we need to do is to focus on eating a variety of nutrient-dense foods that gives your body all the nutrients it needs to feel good, to thrive, to have energy, so that you're not having cravings. Because when your body is missing key nutrients, your body is smart. It will cry out for a quick source of energy, and one of the quickest sources of energy is sugar. So we don't want to give our body any reason to create cravings. This is a full process that I work with women on, how to fuel your body in a nutrient-dense way so that you get rid of your cravings. But I want to give you a few practical tips to get you started. I would say probably the most important one is to make sure you are eating sufficient protein. You might have heard this before, but it truly is a game changer when it comes to feeling full, feeling satisfied, not thinking about food, and having cravings. You know, just recently I'm working with a woman who she's been working with me off and on for a couple years now, and she's been eating pretty healthy. But we recently decided that it would be helpful for her to increase her protein intake. And so she's being very intentional about eating a lot of protein. And it is working so well for her. Her cravings have gone down. She's not thinking about food. She's not as tempted to eat things that aren't part of her plan, to the point where we were talking the other day and she was trying to figure out, she knew she was going to have a meal and there wouldn't be much protein, and it made her nervous because she was feeling so calm and in control around food. She didn't want to tempt it by not eating enough protein with one meal. So this is a really powerful strategy that can be super helpful in staying on track with the sweets. But in addition to eating enough protein, having healthy fats and fiber at every single meal is really important as well. The reality is that every single time you eat, every meal, 3 meals a day, is an opportunity to fuel your body well, to give your body everything it needs to be healthy, to thrive, to have energy. And when you do that, it's not going to need to cry out for sugar. So giving your body what it needs 3 meals a day is really helpful. And then the last thing I would say right now is water. We have to be drinking enough water. And you might be thinking, I already know this. I've heard that protein is good for me. I know that water is important. But the question then to ask yourself is, are you doing these things? Because if you aren't, it's going to be hard to stay away from sweets. And if you are following these recommendations, you will see a big boost to your willpower, and it will feel so much easier to stay away from the sweets. So that is step 2 of this process of staying off sweets, and it is to decrease your cravings by making sure that you are eating and nourishing your body really well. But here's the thing, even when you have a plan in place, and even when you're nourishing your body with good, healthy foods, you can still have those thoughts that sugar looks really appealing. You still have those times where you want sweets. And that's where step number 3 comes into play. And I would suggest that without step 3, it will be difficult to stay off of sugar long term. So let's move on and look at that one. Step number 3 is that we need to understand the emotional triggers and habits that cause us to want sugar. So you can have the best plan in place to avoid sugar, to stay on track, to eat healthy. But what happens when, let's say, a busy season hits at work and you are stressed out and that sugar just feels really appealing? Or I've had several women tell me that they went through a hard season of life. They lost a parent, or they were going through a divorce, or their parents were sick or going to a nursing home and they had to care for them. Even if you're eating healthy for a while, these life circumstances can come up and cause us to get off track. And that's where the emotional and mindless eating really creeps in. Because for most of us, eating sugar is this mindless thing. I mean, think about how many times you randomly grab a handful of M&Ms and pop them in your mouth without even thinking about it. Or maybe it's habit. Every time you sit down on the couch at the end of the night to relax in front of the TV or with a book, you just want to have that bowl of ice cream or some kind of treat. Or maybe for you, eating sweets is just a comfort after a hard day, or it just helps you feel better. We have all these emotional reasons for wanting sweets, all these mindless habits, automatic habits around eating sweets. And unless you get to the root of that issue, it's going to be really hard to maintain this healthy lifestyle going forward. Let me know if you can relate to this. Just tap the like button if you can relate to this mindless eating of sweets or the emotional habits that can come in. And I would say the problem with most diets, and the reason why you can lose weight on a diet but gain the weight back, is that they completely ignore this third step. They tell you, here's what to eat, here's the plan to follow, but at some point we feel like we start self-sabotaging or we don't have the willpower to stick with it anymore. And so the women who successfully lose weight and keep it off, they do one important piece, and that is they figure out why, even though they know what to do, they still don't do it. I mean, how many of you have had that thought? Put a me in the chat. If you have ever had that thought, I know what to do. I know I shouldn't eat the donuts or the cookies or the cake, but yet I still do it. Let me know. Put me in the chat if you can relate to that. And that is truly the key. And I think one of the markers of whether or not you will be successful long-term or not is if you do the deeper work and figure out, well, why are you going for the sweets, even though you said you weren't going to? And so again, I have a process where I help women really cut back their overeating and the emotional eating and the mindless eating so they eat healthy consistently. And I want to give you the first practical steps so you can take steps in this direction. So the first step to permanently changing your eating habits, to staying off sugar for good, is to figure out why you are eating. What this looks like in the moment. And I would suggest anytime you're about to eat something, just to pause, take 10 seconds is literally all it takes, and ask yourself, am I physically hungry right now? And so all that requires is just checking in with your body, just noticing, is your stomach actually empty? Does it feel hungry? Or is it more of a head thing or more of this like desire to eat? So just ask yourself that one question, am I physically hungry? And if you are, great, go ahead and eat, no guilt about it. But if you are not physically hungry, that's where we need to do a little bit of deeper work. And so what I suggest in that moment is to take a deep breath, walk away from the kitchen, maybe find a quiet space for just a minute where you can close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and ask yourself, I wonder why. I wonder why I'm wanting to eat some cookies right now. I'm wondering why I want that chocolate. And just give yourself a little bit of time, not much, but just a little time to reflect on that. And as you do this more consistently, you will notice some patterns come to light. You will start to notice, oh, every time I'm feeling restless or bored, I go to eat something sweet. Or maybe for you, it's every time I get into an argument with my spouse, I head to the kitchen. Or every time I'm feeling anxious about something, I head to the kitchen. So just notice, what is it for you that is bringing up that desire to go to the kitchen to eat some sweets? And this tip alone, I promise you, it is like $1 million tip when it comes to weight loss. I have had multiple women, after I share this with them, they tell me that they're practicing it. I can think of one woman in particular who said that she spent a week or so doing this, where every time that she was feeling hungry, she would just ask, am I physically hungry or not? And if not, she would reflect on why she was eating. And she told me in the matter of like a week or a week and a half, she lost a couple pounds without even trying. Because I think the power of this tip is that it helps us become more mindful. We become aware in the moment, oh, I'm about to eat something. And we just take a second to think about, do I even really need it? So much of our overeating and emotional eating and eating sweets is done impulsively, mindlessly, without thinking. So if we can just bring in a little bit of awareness, a little bit of time to stop and think if we even need that, sometimes that's a big first step that we need to cut back the overeating and the mindless eating on sweets. So give it a try and see what comes up for you. And then lastly, you can be doing all 3 of these steps I shared so far, and yet maybe it's still not quite working for you. One of the things that can truly make or break your success is step number 4. So let's move on to that one. The 4th and final step of the process of getting off sweets is to find support, coaching, or accountability. The truth is, I don't think we were made to make changes like this in isolation, especially when we're trying to change our eating habits, our relationship to food. I think you know, because you're here watching this video, how tough it can be to stay away from sweets. It's not an easy thing. Losing weight is not an easy thing. I know there's so many doctors and experts and weight loss programs that make it feel easy. Just eat this, cut your calories back, exercise a little bit more, and the weight will come off. But if it were that simple, there would not be so many people struggling to lose weight and to keep it off. And for a lot of women, what I have seen be the biggest needle mover for them is having coaching and accountability to stick with it. Because here's the truth. There will be days when your willpower is shot. There will be days when you don't feel motivated to make the healthy choice. That is normal. There will be days when you want to drive through and pick up fast food instead of coming home and cooking a healthy meal. That is normal. And so if you have some coaching, some support, some accountability to help you get through those days of low willpower, low motivation, that is what will help you be consistent. Willpower will come and go, but coaching and accountability will keep you consistent in the midst of the highs and lows of the willpower and weight loss journey. So for those of you who have been struggling for a while to lose weight, maybe you've tried more diets than you can count, you've started and stopped more times than you can count, I would highly encourage you to consider if having some support, having some accountability really could be the game changer for you. Because I know it has been for a lot of the women I work with. It's what keeps them on track and keeps them going every single day. In fact, just recently, one of the women in my advanced coaching group told me that she is just a couple of pounds away from her goal weight. She is eager to get there very soon. And she told me what she believes has made the difference in the past several months has been this advanced coaching group that I have, because she said that gives her the motivation to be consistent. And it takes consistency. If we want to reach our goal, we have to be consistent day in and day out. And coaching and support can be that tool that helps you be consistent. Okay, so let's just recap. If you are ready to stop eating sweets, the 4-step plan is to 1, create a plan. Be specific about what it will look like to stop eating sweets. And then number 2 is make sure that you are getting rid of the physical cravings by eating nutrient-dense foods and eating enough so that you're not feeling hungry. Step 3 is then to start becoming aware of what your personal emotional eating triggers are and habits are that are causing you to go back to sugar day after day. And lastly is get some support, get some coaching, get some accountability to help you stay on track and be consistent enough to reach your goal. All right, so if you are ready to take action further, I have that mini training that I mentioned at the beginning, which is the willpower equation. This is a video that will give you 7 proven strategies to boost your willpower so we can increase the charge on our battery so that it does feel a little bit easier to say no to the sweets. So just go to the link in the description of this video. I can also put it in the comments of this video. Go to the link for the willpower equation. You can download it and get started with those 7 strategies right away. And then if you are someone who knows that you would just do better with more support, more coaching, more accountability, and a plan to follow, then I would love to talk to you. I mean, that's what I do with women in my coaching practice. So I will also put a link in the comments where you can book a complimentary call. It's called a Lose Weight and Keep It Off Breakthrough Call. And in this call, we'll just talk about what your goals are. I will help you uncover what's been keeping you stuck. And then we'll map out a plan to see if I can help you lose weight, keep it off, and stay off sweets for good. All right, so whatever your goal is, either get started with that willpower equation training or book a complimentary call for me. I look forward to talking with you soon, and I will see you in the next video.